Hey guys, today's update is about console messages and mostly optimization and performance tweaking. I'll start with the console messages. I have added, well, the game had a console, at least it was printing to the default console, but that wasn't displayed. So I have redirected the output into the main window. I have also color coded the messages, so if you pick up a branch or do something which is pretty usual, the message is white. If you go for combat, let's say I'd try to hit the boar. I hope I can hit the boar actually, yeah. It's gonna color code the hit with red color. Also if I get hit, it's gonna be red. And if my skill increases, it's gonna be cyan. I bet those are all the colors I have used. Yeah, I think so. So that's all from the messages. That was just a minor update. I'll just kill the boar. Right now there's no limit to how many messages can be displayed at once, but there's a 10-second limit that will prevent older messages from being displayed. Right now you cannot go through the history, but I intend to implement that later on. So what about the performance tweaking and stuff? I'm not gonna talk in general, well, at least I'll try not to. I'll try to stick to my project and say what I've done and how it affected my, well, its performance. I got a friend who's got pretty old PC, and it's a good reference point or testing device for performance, as in order to push the game to like kind of its limits, I need to do a lot of crazy stuff on my PC. I had to add like 50,000 trees and so on, but on his PC it's pretty easy to test because it sucks. Sorry dude, but it sucks. And when he was playing, the game was using like 40 to 50% of his CPU and like 560 megabytes of his RAM, which is pretty huge number. And so I went through the code, and every like 10 versions I tend to go through the code and try to optimize it so it runs better, faster, and it uses less memory. First thing that I have done was reworking the obstacle system. I have mentioned that before, but I didn't say the numbers behind it. In my tests, when I was playing with like 50,000 trees or 100,000, yeah, a lot of trees. Just I was storing all the obstacles in an array, and I was holding like all these booleans in one big ass array that was being checked every time you moved or something happened, and that actually made, well, increased the usage of RAM up to like 2.5 gigabytes. I found out using the profiler built in Netbeans set to memory profiling, and when I've seen that, I was just wow. I was amazed how big of a mistake that was. I actually found the idea in a tutorial on how to make obstacles, but that tutorial was probably meant for someone else, because in my example it backfired on me. So what I did was I've totally tore the obstacle system down, and every object holds its own obstacle, and there's like no global obstacle array or anything like that. So only those objects that are close to me are then used for collision resolution or just the whole collision system. That lowered the RAM usage, But the numbers I mentioned before, like that 560 or 260 megabyte RAM, that's I mean only the 560. That's from after the obstacle system rework. Those new numbers were still pretty high, and I tried to dig out the bad stuff from the code. First of all, the heads-up display was kind of shaking when you were sprinting, or especially when you were sprinting in debug mode, when the game was moving faster. And I had no idea why that's happening. And it was bugging me so much, I couldn't figure it out. But then I realized that when I'm moving like to the right, the heads-up display was like twitching towards the direction where I'm headed. And if the heads-up display was like lagging behind, it wouldn't be displayed to the right, it will be displayed to the left, because it's not being drawn properly or fast enough. So I stopped looking for a mistake in the drawing section, and I tried to figure out what's going on. And the issue was that when my character was moving, its position was updated faster than the window was drawn, and that was causing the issue with the twitching, as at one point the heads-up display will be drawn for this position, but when my character was moving, it was trying to keep up, and sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't, and that was the whole issue. What I did was I've updated the translation coordinates for my character or for the screen in every draw method call, instead of calling it only from the movement updates. And by translation I mean, if you want your screen to stick on your character, like it seems like I'm moving the screen above the map, but actually the map is moved the map is moved around, and that's caused by translation. I have to translate twice in the code when I'm drawing the map. First translate is for the map, and then I translate back to draw the heads-up display. As that's I'm not gonna go into that deeper. Alright, so I've managed to go from on the old PC my friend has, I've managed to lower the RAM usage from 560 to 260, and his CPU usage from 40 to 50 to 10 to 20, which is pretty good, and the game is much more playable for him. It still is kinda weird why his PC is using so much RAM. Well, why the game on his PC is using so much RAM, because on my PC it's using 150 megabytes RAM hardly, and if it goes up to 10% CPU, that's pretty good. I mean pretty high for my PC. It usually stays at around 3, depends what I'm doing. Yeah, more optimizations. When I was going through the code again, I've noticed that the screen is sometimes like shaking and lagging, especially when I've added a bunch of trees, like a lot of trees. The screen was filled with trees. I was trying to break the game to see where the problems are, and I've noticed that when I'm moving around, when there's a lot of trees around, I am lagging like a lot, and I couldn't figure out why is that happening. So I went through the code, I started profiling it manually, like printing statistics, times especially, and trying to figure out what's going on. And the issue was with transparency. I have been checking the transparency for the whole screen instead of just a region around the character, and I actually made a little picture about it to tweak the game to make it run faster. I'll try to demonstrate it on this picture. Let's say this is the whole map, which is like 15,000 pixels, I guess, to 15,000 pixels. You don't need to draw the whole map. That's pretty simple. You just draw your screen. This is your screen. This way you can save most of the CPU. If you draw only the screen, you still have issues with the transparency or something that's like a heavier function that it needs to calculate more stuff than just simple if that then do that. Yeah. So I've limited the transparency check to a smaller area, and it runs much smoother. And also another thing to note, in most tutorials it's mentioned there, do not calculate stuff while the game is being drawn. It is so important. Never call major calculation methods from the draw function. It will kill your performance. The thing is that you need to like pre-calculate every problematic stuff beforehand and then just execute it or update it or whatever. Don't I'm gonna give you an example. I used to draw the projectile trajectory on the fly. Like when the game was drawing, it always calculated the next position of the spear, because I didn't know better. I didn't know how to calculate the whole trajectory, and then I found out the that algorithm I used for line drawing or trajectory detection or calculation. And with that, you can actually find the code on a website and just copy paste it. It's pretty simple. I had to tweak it for my or adjust it for my project, as it actually draws the line, and I wanted to get all the points along the way, and I also needed to factor in the speed of the projectile. So I was tweaking it a little bit, and then I managed to figure out a way how to just calculate the whole way in points. So if I shoot the spear, before the spear starts flying, I know all the points of its trajectory. So then I just update its location, and it's running smooth. It's much easier for the CPU. Also, yeah, I wanted to mention something else and I totally forgot. Let's see. Yeah, about animation updates. It's really important not to use like, wow, that's super hard to describe. Well, if you're checking for animation updates, use time, don't use numbers. And by numbers I mean like virtual numbers, like let's say count from 1 to 500 or 5,000 and then update. Those increments will kill your performance. I've used it before because I didn't know better, and now I've moved to a time-based system. So let's say the spear is updated every 10 milliseconds. That's one of the fastest updates I got. But for the character, that's 100 milliseconds, or any general animation is 100 milliseconds. That saved some of the CPU as well. Yeah, that's all. This one was a bit longer than I expected. It is really important, if you're like me learning how to do stuff, to go back and see what you can improve with your new skills. So check your code regularly, try to get it run smoother, faster, better. Alright? I hope this helps to some developers out there. I've noticed that in my last series, or the first half of the series, there were some guys that actually started a team of game developers. So I hope they are still going and they are still doing good. Or yeah. Good luck, guys, and see you next time.